Welcome to the channel. Shocking photo of the world. Earl Stanley Gardner, 1889–1970, became a classic of the detective genre during his lifetime. The total circulation of his books exceeds 320 million copies. Henry Cyril Paget, 5th Marquess of England. One of the most eccentric aristocrats, who lived fast and died young, having spent £43 million on fancy dress costumes. Farmers arrest a sheriff who was trying to evict a woman from her farm on behalf of an insurance company. Michigan, 1952. X-ray machine, Frankfurt, 1929. Performers of the Circus of Little People, as they prefer to be called, Paris, 1949. Photograph of an Indian state executioner in spiked armor, with sword and shield, India, 1903. To calm patients in a mental hospital, medical workers swaddled them in wet blankets. Flappers, 1920s. They showed off their legs in unacceptably short dresses, preferred short haircuts, heavily lined their eyes and used dark red lipstick, giving their lips the fashionable Cupid's bow shape. They drove their own cars, went on diets, smoked a lot, did not limit themselves in alcohol, and approved of free love. It was during this period that the concept of dating a man appeared, going on dates without implying marriage in the future. A local businessman who carried chairs on his back and rented them out for 10 cents to weary tourists, Constantinople, 1920. Indonesians loot Chinese shops and commit riots in Jakarta, May 14, 1998, Indonesia. This is the last known photograph of all four members of the Beatles, taken on August 22, 1969. November 4, 1972. France. Romanian tennis player Elie Nastase and his fiancée Dominique Grazia. Photo by Jean-Claude Deutsch. Elie Nastase is the first tennis player to be ranked number 1 in the world since the ATP rankings were established in 1973. Lady with a cane containing hidden alcohol. Prohibition era, February 13, 1922. November 13, 1972, the Chinese ship Wan Chun ran aground near IJmuiden, Netherlands. November 15, 1972. London. Model Sophie in a dress called Decadent Experience. Designer Diana Crenshaw. The Chicago Post Office put its workers on roller skates because they allowed them to work faster, thereby saving valuable time, 1920. Young English inventor Mr. Day demonstrates his 1922 innovation, a portable radio with headphones. The device fits comfortably in a top hat, allowing the gentleman to enjoy his favorite radio programs while walking. November 1972. Official visit of French President Georges Pompidou to Upper Volta, now Burkina Faso. Spectators, and probably security, along the route of the motorcade. Photo by Philippe Letellier. Motorcycle La Junella. It was used as a taxi and had 2 passenger seats in addition to the driver's seat. Champ de Mars. Paris. France. 1922. November 27, 1972. Amsterdam. Election campaign. Van with a poster of the left-wing Christian PPR. An unemployed man sold space on his bald head to advertise a sports magazine. Budapest, 1939. Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh play Chinese checkers between scenes in Gone with the Wind, 1939. Wrestlers Maria Beer and Julie Frank perform a twisting hold during their fight for the European Women's Wrestling Championship, 1901. 1956, while drunk, former Marine Thomas Fitzpatrick stole a small plane from New Jersey, then landed it perfectly on a narrow Manhattan street in front of the bar where he was drinking. He bet he could walk out of the bar, drive to New Jersey, and be back in 15 minutes. He did almost the same thing 2 years later when another bar patron didn't believe his story. 1922, 78-year-old Robert T. Lincoln, son of Abraham Lincoln, is helped up the steps at the dedication of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. The French box bed or closed bed was common in Brittany and other European countries. In one-room houses, it provided privacy and warmth in the winter. A baker in 1910, London. He rang a bell as he walked through the streets with his wares on a tray on his head. Paparazzo Ron Galella began wearing a football helmet around actor Marlon Brando after Brando punched him in 1973, breaking his jaw and knocking out 5 teeth. The daguerreotype portraits depict the oldest generation of people who witnessed photography, 1840 to 1850. Many of them were born in the 1700s. Firefighters rest in the rubble of the World Trade Center near Church Street in New York City, September 12, 2001. The child at the controls of the helicopter is John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., the son of the 35th American President John Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy. The crew of Apollo 1 a few days before the tragedy. On February 21, 1967, during ground tests, a fire broke out on board the ship, and the entire crew perished. In 1969, a small group of Native Americans took over the former Alcatraz prison in protest of human rights violations in the United States and held on to land they considered Indian for 3 years. The Native Americans demanded that the American government show them honesty and respect for their tribes. Audrey Hepburn and her Yorkshire Terrier Mr. Celebrity 1960. It was Hepburn who first introduced the fashion for Yorkshire Terriers as pets. A dog of this breed named Mr. Celebrity became the actress's partner in the films Funny Face and The Children's Hour. May 25, 1972. San Francisco, San Quentin Prison. An escapee left this mannequin in his cell and then disappeared. Anti-Beatles protests by conservative Japanese around the Tokyo Hilton Hotel where the Beatles were staying for their concert in Japan, 1966. Miss Italy puts Miss Sweden on the ropes during an international women's boxing match in Stockholm, 1949. Photo shoot of a girl in a provocative outfit in Miami Beach, Florida, 1940. Photo by Alfred Eisenstadt. Winter evening in Paris, 1953, photo by Albert Munier. The picture shows the back of Notre Dame Cathedral, taken from the KAUX Fleurs. The cafe on the corner still stands. Princess Elizabeth, later Queen Elizabeth II, working as a mechanic during World War II, 1943. John Quincy Adams is the first U.S. president to be photographed. He served from 1825 to 1829. Photograph taken in 1843. Athletes at an international women's boxing match in Stockholm, representing Italy, Switzerland, Sweden, the USA, England, Yugoslavia and Germany. Sweden, 1949. A boys' high school basketball player shoots a free throw into an opposing team's hoop, 1921. 105 years ago, a Detroit fountain was left on for the winter, resulting in a 30-foot ice sculpture. A Sikkimese woman carries a man in a basket on her back, West Bengal, British India, 1903. A color photograph of Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain, taken in 1908, 2 years before his death. Mrs. Elizabeth Arnold, 70, England's only female blacksmith, shoes a horse at a 400-year-old forge in Walmer, Kent, March 1938. A street in the Latin Quarter after a night of clashes between students and police. Paris, France. May 1968. 8-year-old Smol Rzeszewski achieves the unthinkable in one of the greatest sporting shocks of all time when he defeats 20 chess grandmasters simultaneously. 100 years ago, on May 16, 1920. Ronald Reagan teaches Susan Hayward to swim. 1938. Posted photo by Warner Brothers. Upon seeing this photo, company president Jack Warner said, "Oh, my God, Reagan has better legs than that redhead from Brooklyn. Not only does she have fat legs, but she can't pose." Years later, Reagan recalled, "We'd only been on 2 dates by then, and she was already treating me like property." Cutting tuna. Sicily, 1956. A couple holds a mini demonstration to raise awareness of environmental pollution, 1970. An Italian field gun positioned among cactus bushes in Tunisia, March 31, 1943.
Portrait of an Inuit woman with a child. Alaska, USA, 1947. Untitled. From the series Pottery Town. Sato, Aichi, Japan, 1954. Street view in Chinatown, New York, USA, 1930s. Unloading of corn sent by foreign countries to help famine-stricken areas of India. Port of Calcutta, 1951. Toshiba's new video phone, the 500-view phone, undergoes testing at the company's Tokyo headquarters in 1968. Cuban vibe, 50s girls at the bar in Havana. Glasses in hand, laughter and cigarette smoke. It's the 50s, when Cuba was a magnet for adventure seekers. Harem Guard, Tunisia. 1931. The eunuch, the entrance to the harem, is a figure shrouded in myth, castrated by custom or necessity. These men served in the palaces, guarding the women's quarters. Albert Clamo of the Ottawa Humane Society holds a lost puppy. In a few hours, the little guy will be playing with the boy he was returned to. It was a heartwarming moment. Round boats, called guffers, woven from twigs and coated with bitumen, glided along the rivers of Mesopotamia for centuries. Waterproof, durable. Survival lessons, Toronto, 1908. This old photo shows a water rescue lesson. A drowning person instinctively grabs onto anything. The stick in the instructor's hands is the first chance for salvation. Igloo in the Arctic, 1924. Inuit, yes, Eskimo is not a word in honor. Build igloos with the precision of engineers. Each snow block is part of a perfect dome. Istanbul in the haze, 1930s panorama of the city where east meets west. Minarets, bazaars, ships on the Bosphorus. The eternal Istanbul as it was almost a century ago. Karnak Temple, Egypt, 1989. A magnificent complex in Luxor dedicated to Amun-Ra. Columns carved thousands of years ago still stand, a reminder of the grandeur of ancient Thebes, weaving at the end of the world. Attu Island, 1909. Aleut women gather grass for baskets on the remote island of Attu. Today, the island is deserted, but these women left their mark on history by weaving not only baskets, but also traditions. The shorts that shocked Toronto, 1937. To models from Alexandra Studios took to the streets in shorts, and the city gasped. In those puritanical times, you could get arrested for that. Audacity ahead of its time. Streets of Cavite, Philippines, 1930s. Life is in full swing. Vendors, passers-by, rickshaws. An ordinary day in colonial Asia, full of color and chaos. Bamboo and water. Philippines, 1930. Bamboo poles filled with water are ingeniously simple. In Southeast Asia, this method of delivering water has been around for centuries. Olmec Head, Mexico, 1938. A massive stone head, carved by the Olmecs, looks into eternity. These monuments, scattered throughout the jungle, still hold the secrets of an ancient civilization. Colossi of Memnon, Egypt, 1910. Statues of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, photographed by Richard Stewart. Once guarding the entrance to a temple, they now stand as silent witnesses to history. Kebab and cats, Istanbul, 1950. To a kebab vendor is surrounded by purring guards. In Istanbul, cats are not just animals, they are part of the culture. Bedouins at the pyramids, Egypt, 1910. Roger Viollet captured the moment. Bedouins at the Great Pyramid of Giza. Sand, camels and ancient stones, eternal Egypt. Guatemalan bananas, 1905. Plantations, where the country's economy was born. Guatemalan bananas fed the world and wrote the region's history at the same time. Camels on the beach, Palestine, 1931. Camels walk on the sand by the sea. A shot where the desert meets the waves, and the past meets the present. Vietnamese refugee with children, Hue, 1968. A war-torn city, tired faces, but hope in the eyes. A shot that hits the heart. Shanghai merchant, 1938. Successful, confident, with a twinkle in his eye. Shanghai is bustling, and this guy clearly knows how to catch his luck. Chinese women at the top, 1980. Maintenance of high voltage lines at Fushun Power Station. Courage and precision in every move. This is no joke. North Korea, Sinmak, 1950. A family of migrants hides between train cars. The Incheon landing turned everything upside down, but Chinese volunteers with the support of the USSR fought back. Microsoft founders Bill Gates 13 and Paul Allen 15 operate a PDP-10 computer at the University of Washington via a teletype terminal at their school in 1968. Two ladies in bathing suits walk past the members of a beauty contest jury, disguised and therefore incorruptible. France, 1937. Robert Earl Hughes, 1926 to 1958, was an American weighing 486 kilograms, who was the heaviest man in the world during his lifetime. He remains the heaviest man in the world who can walk without assistance. The crew of the Enola Gay bomber before flying out with a gift to Hiroshima, 1945. American grandmother Bobby Fischer plays on 50 boards simultaneously on April 12, 1964. The result is only one loss and 2 draws. Seiji Karata, Yakuza member, 1970s. Anna Nicole Smith is a sultry, irresistible and feminine icon of the 90s. A girl who survives several years in a concentration camp draws a house on a blackboard with chalk. Poland, 1948. -1-year-old Samuel Reshevsky defeats several recognized chess masters. Paris, 1920. Margaret Gibb kissed by her fiancé, while her conjoined sister Mary looks on. California, 1940s. In 1929, Margaret Gibb, one of the conjoined twins, became engaged to Carlos Daniel Joseph, a gentleman from Mexico City, whom she met while performing in New Orleans. Leonardo DiCaprio and his Russian grandmother from permed Helen Indenbuchen ne Elena Smirnova. On June 3, 1968, Andy Warhol was the victim of an assassination attempt. Radical feminist Valerie Solanas shot the artist 3 times in the stomach. The bullets hit his lungs, esophagus, spleen, liver, and stomach. Warhol experienced clinical death. Winnie the Pooh and his friends, which A.T. Milne gave to his son Christopher between 1920 and 1922. The very first motorcycle in the world. The motorcycle and the car have a common parent, Gottlieb Daimler. It was he who, in 1885, built the first prototype of this iconic vehicle, Wright Wagon, a motorcycle based on a wooden frame and an internal combustion engine. One of the bodyguards of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Libya, 1983. The first female hairdresser in New York. Before that, hairdressers were exclusively men. 1927. Aftermath of the Jaguar plant fire. 1957. On the 12th of February 1957, a major fire broke out at the Jaguar plant on Browns Lane, destroying a significant portion of the production facilities. Naples, Italy, 1960. A real woman will always support you in difficult times and cover you in any situation. Miners shower after a shift in a coal mine. Britain, 1940. Flooding in Limburg due to high water levels of the Maas River. Netherlands, 1970. Flooding in the Netherlands is a historically significant and regularly recurring phenomenon due to the country's geographical location. A couple ride a pulley at Hampstead Heath Fair, London, England, 1922. Climbing Mount Pirin, Bulgaria, 1971. Mount Pirin is one of the most picturesque and significant mountain ranges in Bulgaria, located in the southwest of the country. A nanny bathes a child in the nursery of the Les Galeries Lafayette department store. Paris, 1929. Les Galeries Lafayette is a legendary department store in Paris, France, that has become a symbol of luxury, fashion and fine shopping. 2 girls enjoying ice cream while riding donkeys on the sands of Blackpool, 1937. The 1930s saw a significant shift towards more practical and revealing swimwear. During this period, some designs began to include separate tops and bottoms, although they were still quite modest.
Ken Sandersky and Adam Falandis, the stars of the 1980 Moscow Games, posed proudly in their youth. Decades later, they returned to recreate the iconic shot, now gray-haired, but with the same sparkle in their eyes. In May 1956, the submarine Nautilus proudly entered New York Harbor, becoming a symbol of engineering triumph. This photo captured the moment when humanity stepped into a new era of technology. California, 1940. Skier Dick Brown jumps over his own car in Lassen County. The region, known for its snowstorms even in the summer, was the perfect setting for such a spectacle. An American daredevil, tied to an airship, soars at an altitude of 1 kilometer. One wrong step and that's it. This shot is pure adrenaline, caught on camera. England, 1983. A 17-year-old boy proudly shows off his Italian Vespa moped. This photo captures all the freedom and carelessness of youth. Paris, 1920s. Someone decided that the best way to transport a dog was in a stylish basket on a bicycle. Elegant, eccentric and very French. Vienna, 1950s. Engineer Klaus Scholz created psychotrons, robots that serve tea, open doors and even shake hands. In this picture, one of them offers Frau Schultz a cup of tea. This is what the future looked like. 1962, Wales. Graham and Barbara Brown carry their daughters, 17-day-old Rosaline and 19-month-old Susan, to the summit of Mount Ogwen. It's not just a photo, it's a hymn to family courage. USA, 1963. In Bergen County, New Jersey, nuns joined the Scouts once a year. Here, a sister confidently aims a rifle. Who says holiness and accuracy are incompatible? 1923, a couple speeds along in an auto, a budget alternative to a car. Introduced in the early 20th century, these vehicles became a symbol of affordable mobility. Cincinnati, 1955. The James McLaughlin-designed public library looks like a temple of knowledge. This shot is an ode to a bygone era when books were treasures. Los Angeles, 1900. Ostrich farms in California were thriving, and enterprising businessmen decided to use the birds as draft animals. This photo is pure surrealism. Switzerland, 1983. The Dangerous Sports Club organizes crazy races in St. Moritz. There are no rules, only speed and excitement. South Africa, 1939. A toddler in Oudtshoorn sits on a pile of ostrich eggs. This shot is like a postcard from a world where anything is possible. 1964, the police watched the Thalians with an impassive look. In fact, they are actors from the show Man on the Moon. London has always been able to surprise. 1900, photographed by Chris Ware. A woman in an electric bath, the forerunner of a solarium, enjoys a procedure with a voltage of 50,000 volts. A fashionable relaxation that promised health and gentle warmth. 1920, photo by Reinhold Thiele. A circus performer teaches a zebra to stand on its hind legs. Patience and delicacy made this trick a reality. Nevada, 1960s. The Sedan explosion left a crater 1,300 feet across in the desert. This photo is a reminder of how humanity played with the power of the atom. 1920, the most secure bank safe looks like a portal to another world. Behind these doors is not just money, but entire destinies. 1947, wrestler Mildred Burke holds a journalist in a hold while filing her nails. This woman broke all stereotypes, becoming a wrestling legend. In 2025, a film about her, Queen of the Ring, is released. Nebraska, USA, 1887. Dusty prairies, cowboys and simple life. This shot is like a scene from an old western, only without the Hollywood pathos. Shellfish Cellars, UK, 1877. The bustle of Victorian England streets, stern faces, baskets of oysters and the smell of the sea. Sanssouci Mill, Potsdam, Germany, late 19th, early 20th century. A picture straight out of an old postcard, wooden blades, a quiet river and no trace of modern technology. Arab water carriers, Egypt, late 19th century. Heat and heavy jugs on their shoulders, this is what water delivery looked like before coolers appeared. A canal in old Shanghai, China, 1870. Narrow boats, bamboo hats and life along the water, this is what China was like before skyscrapers. Cane cellars, Persia, late 19th, early 20th century. Bazaar, the aroma of spices and traders who knew the value of every stock. In a wine cellar, France, 1890. Barrels, dusty bottles and, probably, the smell of aged Bordeaux. The French already knew how to live beautifully. Peasant girl from Gütac, Germany, 1895. Simple dress, looking into the camera and the feeling that she is about to tell her story. House with a Cherry Tree by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Haute-Savoie, 1895. The place where the philosopher found inspiration. By the way, do cherries still grow there? Easter Island statue, 1868. A giant moai on board an English ship, the moment when Antiquity met imperial ambitions. Captain's huts, Boulogne, 1857. Sea breeze, salty ropes and a life where every day is a fight with the waves. Koyari People's Home, Papua New Guinea, 1886. Huts on stilts, jungle all around, a world where nature dictated its rules. A gondolier in Venice, Italy, 1900. Canals, romance, and a guy with an oar who probably knew all the gossip about the town. New York, Fifth Avenue, 1897. Horse-drawn carriages, the first skyscrapers and crowds who were already rushing about their business. Experiments with a balloon, Brunoy, France, 1891. Ernest and Roger Violet tried to conquer the skies when airplanes were still science fiction. Augie the Trainer, 1899. This woman sat in the lion cage like it was just another Tuesday. God-level courage. Stagecoach on a high bridge, Colorado, USA, 1890s. Mining towns, steep cliffs and a road that will make your heart sink. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland, 1885. Stone walls, fog and history that breathes in every corner. Men at a sawmill, late 1880s. Saws, sweat, and rough men's work, without them, there would be no cities. Indian settlement, Great Plains, 1890. Teepees, campfire smoke, and life in harmony with nature as the world around them changed. In the midst of war, a young woman sits in a tattoo parlor. Artist Jack Julian tattoos her social security number on one leg and her address on the other. A precaution against bombing, to identify her. A stark reminder of dark times. This dog is lucky, he is saved by the Wartime Veterinary Service. In 1939, in the run-up to the war, more than 750,000 pets were destroyed in Britain. Radio and newspapers sowed panic, claiming that there would not be enough food, and distributed instructions on how to put animals to sleep. The Austin J40 pedal car, produced in Wales from 1950 to 1971, was a kid's dream. With a horn, working headlights and an opening boot, it was almost like the real thing. The bustling streets of London are filled with children playing. The picture exudes the carefree post-war years when the city was coming back to life. A farmer trims a draft horse's hoof before shoeing it. The hot shoe is fitted with precision, just like 100 years ago. The lugs on the shoe indicate its working nature. The picture is a sight to behold. The Mottershead sisters took in lion cubs that the zoo could not keep during the war. Their father founded Chester Zoo, so the girls were trained to handle wild animals from an early age. One bicycle that stands out on London streets is the 1930 Ariel Imperial Light Roadster. Elegant transport for an elegant era. Mining was the backbone of Wales' economy for much of the 20th century, with entire neighborhoods of identical houses built for workers, as harsh as the miners' lives. The scene of feeding the animals resembles a village yard where a grandfather feeds chickens. Only here the birds are much more exotic.